That's beautiful.
She won't wear it, though. It's too valuable.
Yeah.
I'll wear it eventually.
Photo shoots, man.
It's
you know
too
how it
nice.
works.
Not as technically valuable as these Chimario jackets I have.
Photo shoots.
Oh, I've been going.
Yeah, I've been going. And I'm recording us all contingency mode
Right.
as well.
All right. Well,
Now it's
How
a bit
you
too
doing?
dark.
how
I
you
wish
doing
we could
today?
I had more time. Like I set up a really nice lighting thing for our last episode.
I perform
James,
better
you
when I
wanna-
can't see, so.
Do you want to do the thing, buddy?
Sure, yeah. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing fine. Thanks, man.
And how are you, Luke?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks, buddy.
No problem, man. It's really nice to see you. I mean, it's.
I got the whole family over here tonight.
You guys don't. You guys, it's just normal again down there, isn't it?
Yeah, back at it again. I can hear the sirens blaring in the background.
Yeah, but last time I spoke to you, it was like you had an app on your phone that was telling you there was people breaking into your house with, masks on and all sorts of things. And now it's like you're going to gigs.
Yeah, we're back to kind of like an average amount of assault.
Average amount.
There was
of
actually
fear.
a big gig. Yeah, back to normal. Yeah, I'm playing a gig. We're getting the old gang back together next week, man. It's all happening. Crazy. I don't know. It's weird.
What's your set list? Covers?
You
or
talking
originals?
Good Time Boys, right?
Yeah. The 70s biker blues, basically.
Want to just run us through the set here a little bit?
Maybe a little Fog Hat, Slow Ride.
Yeah.
Maybe a little Boys Are Back in Town.
No, that one.
I don't know. Maybe a little Nick Lowe in there somewhere.
I feel like
Courtesy
Slow
of-
Ride.
That kind of like as a Christian Wargo legacy piece.
Well, he was the cruel to be kind guy.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't really been the same without him. It's kind of like we're missing that Nash high harmony. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
I've never seen you guys do Slow Ride. I'm sure that rips.
Very ripping.
Do you,
You
do
think-
the extended kind of jam out at the end? And there's that. If you listen to
Yeah.
it, it's actually like 8 minutes long. Yeah.
No, we don't do the full version. I don't think that the average Hollywood attention span would be able to handle the jam element. We kind of try to keep it pretty tight, as you guys may have seen in the past. There's a lot of medleys. You can tell when they're starting to dip in attention. You just switch to the next song. It's almost more like a DJ set type of scenario.
You still got that like Moon Age Daydream kind of medley going?
We medley the hell out of that, man.
Strong
That's
stuff.
Into Hotel California. I mean, that's, you could say, kind of their signature
Move.
tune. Yeah.
Thomas
Yeah.
still up there?
Thomas on lead guitar, Jimmy Sweet, George Holdcroft, Richard Gowan on drums. All stars, man.
Spursk's out.
Haven't heard much from him. He might be doing something else these days. Who knows?
I'm just thinking now, you got me thinking that with the Nash talk, that, maybe Christian Wargo from Fleet Fox's fame has actually, probably rightly holds. He's like the most important high harmony of his generation, potentially. I'm thinking. Whose is more famous than his in the last 20 years?
I mean, to me, he's the key to that group.
No doubt. Completely agree.
Well, as far as the remaining members at this point.
I'd just like to take this moment to welcome everybody to Impossible Way of Life, your weekly blues podcast. James, as you would say, we've got, our regular James Younger here to my
Certainly
left.
here.
And then,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And then we've got a very special guest tonight, our foreign correspondent to my bottom here, Luke Paquin, down in Los Angeles. Luke, welcome to the show. Thank you. And gentlemen, all I can say is let's talk blues.
Yeah, I
Oh,
just
man.
think of it as kind of like around for you guys at home. Just imagine this as a kind of Charlie Rose like round table setup, like long, kind of like
Hard talk. Hard
like
talk.
kind of an Arthur, and a Knights of the Round kind of table, and it's hard talk exactly.
Exactly. And hard blues talk.
And imagine when Johnny said "let's." I was thinking about this. Actually, I was kind of workshopping this. It was like the idea that there's like a show. There probably is a show called like "Let's Talk Blues," but that like they like everyone gets ready, and he kind of like the guy, the host, who's like the Charlie Rose type, says, "Gentlemen, we're ready. Okay, let's talk blues," and presses something, maybe like a stopwatch, or maybe it's
No, a
just
big
like
red button.
a big red button that plays as like Layla or something.
Yeah. And then the camera
Yeah.
goes like across
exactly.
everybody. Yeah. Well,
the
no, I
important
can't. Yeah.
The important thing about those chat shows like Charlie Rose and Hard Talk is there's absolutely nothing funny about any of it.
Certainly not.
Well, there won't be tonight either.
There's nothing
So
funny
I don't
about
want
the
to hear.
blues.
I don't want to hear any joking around with you two tonight. All right.
Well, okay.
No,
well, let's,
yeah.
no, there's certainly nothing funny about the blues. I know that.
Jameson
Okay.
Wow.
blues, bluesy.
Kind of
I
Van
forgot
Morrison
to
blues.
Thin
Yeah.
Lizzy. Yeah.
Van Morrison, #1 white blues vocalist in history. Yay or
Janis.
nay?
I think so.
Oh.
He's up there. I think of him more. I mean, blues, more soul, R&B, but it's all obviously rhythm and
Long
blues.
John Baldry.
Yeah, right.
He was in that list. Elvis.
He's good.
Elvis is pretty good. Yeah, for
He's
that.
pretty bluesy.
I don't really listen to much. I don't really listen to much pre-wah-wah pedal stuff. To
Yeah.
me, it's kind of started with
Electric
Hendrix. Yeah, kind of Electric Mud.
Yeah.
Hendrix. That's anything before that. It just seemed like it wasn't really like mic'd up properly or something.
What about like I was listening to this record tonight, like Junior Wells with Buddy Guy. That's kind of mid '60s, kind of around the same time, but that's pretty clean. But it's still kind of ripping electric blues.
I think they had a couple of mics in there,
Yeah.
but it's still pre-tuner.
Okay.
Yeah, you were talking about this. That's right.
Yeah.
But you would think even Hendrix is pre-tuner, no?
Very out of tune. It's almost unlistenable, some of those live bootlegs.
Yeah, I think that's
Plus-
where people kind of talk about his kind of raw, emotional blues as opposed to it like the more technical, tuned blues.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, once you hear all this tuned stuff, it's hard to go back. I mean,
Yeah.
they tune the shit out of stuff these days. The vocals,
Yeah.
the snare.
Well, I mean, guys, we got a lot of ground to cover, but what I'd like to know is, Luke, okay, you're kind of what we like to think of as like our man on the street sort of blues, expert. I like to think so anyway. And I was wondering if you could explain to us about the difference between what's technically makes you a good blues player versus just kind of emotionally or, good for a laugh kind of showmanship kind of stuff. People talk about this. What's the difference? Tuning? Is it about tuning?
It starts with a nice, solid Boss standard tuning pedal.
TU3, all the way back to the TU1, I guess. A
Yeah.
strobe tuner.
Before
you
that,
think-
it was.
yeah.
Before that, it was kind of you had to kind of do the whole thing by ear, which is way too much to ask of somebody that's
On acid.
in that much pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And has gone through that much heartache and had their wife do them wrong like that. Like they don't have time to like
Tune.
put a pedal down and plug in like they're going straight into the amp, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
They're
not
straight,
even that.
Straight off the stoop, honestly.
Yeah,
Straight
they
off
might
the
just
porch.
be acoustic,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like what people on the internet, like on kind of whatever it is, bluesrank.com.
Well, I'm actually on a website here called
Okay.
bluesjunction.com. that kind of
Okay.
specifically has a forum on the difference between emotional and technical guitarists.
Well, there you go. Maybe you could enlighten me on this subject a bit.
Well, it's heated. It gets really heated, actually, because, a lot of people kind of bring up the kind of Steve Vai, Van Halen, like technical guitarists. But when it gets right down to kind of to the bluesiest stuff, a lot of people sort of saying like, Hendrix is a fantastic guitarist technically because his stuff is a lot harder to play than it sounds. So there's a really interesting kind of theory there. But listen, on all of these websites, it gets heated really quickly. And here is no exception because there's this kind of tete-a-tete kind of face-off between Bad Boy and a guy, Alpha Centauri. They're their kind of handles. And basically, Bad Boy starts by saying, I can't think of a guitarist that had greater technical ability, emotion, and songwriting all in one, like more than Hendrix. But then he goes to mention Prince, Zappa, Fripp, May, Hendrix, and Page, and Tom Morello, often on these lists. And just like hold with me here because it kind of gets interesting. And Bad Boy has a problem with this because he says, you know what? I agree with you on all of these people except for Brian May. And that's when Alpha Centauri gets really kind of pissed off. And he just says, Bad Boy, it's not up to you who is and isn't technically great. Brian May has been consistently cited as one of the best technical guitarists for a long time. Mm-hmm. And furthermore, by guitarists technically better than you. So we're kind of shots fired here, and it keeps going. Bad Boy responds.
Got personal.
Yeah, it gets personal. Bad Boy responds, this is a forum, and I'm allowed to express my opinions. I just want to say I can play May's stuff with no problem. So for me, he's not that great technically. And Alpha Centauri responds, if you can play it easily, prove it.
Wow.
And, why would you dismiss, my case? Straight up, stop dodging the question. Prove it. Prove that you can play like Brian May. And Bad Boy says, what's up with you? Why does this even matter? You don't get the right to judge me musically. You have no idea how long I've been playing guitar and the things I've accomplished. It keeps going, and Alpha Centauri just says, you know what? Just prove it. All I'm saying is prove it. Until you prove it, and I think that's it. Pick an axe off the wall. Show me that you
settle
can play.
this on the stage, right? Yeah.
And you know what? He doesn't prove it. It goes on for a long time, and he won't do it. And he's like, you're dodging my question. Just prove it.
He can't. He probably can't play like Brian May. I'm sure he can't.
Yeah. And he says, Alpha Centauri, after finally Bad Boy says, I can't be fucked with this conversation anymore, Alpha Centauri says, see, we knew this would happen. Why waste our time? So, it gets really heated, this stuff.
He called him out, and the guy didn't step up, and he basically got punked.
He got punked, and I think that's sort of like putting your foot down and being able to play on demand. Right. Mayer,
that's the blues. That's the kind of blues. Yeah,
Mayer is often cited as one of the sort of modern day great blues players, and I often see it's because he's good at improvising. He's good at playing on demand.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, they used to battle, in the way that maybe like a rapper would in more modern times. And
true, kind of an 8 Mile thing.
I've seen Mayer go up against some of the greats on stage over there, maybe at the House of Blues over there on Sunset Strip, rest in peace. And I've seen him up there with Billy Gibbons and Slash and Bonamassa, and he holds his own, man.
I believe that.
Bonamassa is a guy whose name keeps coming up time and time again. When you're looking at kind of modern blues aficionados.
Just
he might be the top guy on the scene right now.
The top guy.
I don't know a ton about but I've seen a lot of things about that. Blues is all about the blues tradition, right? And all I know is back in the day in Chicago, I've seen the Ken Burns jazz and that kind of stuff. And a lot of these jazz blues artists, they were forced to go into these clubs in New Orleans.
Forced.
Yeah, or New York or Chicago, and just get, it'd be kind of like if the piano was free or the guitar was free or whatever you're doing, you got to just step in there and show people what you got. And there would be there actually would be battles,
kind of cage fighting kind of.
So what I'm saying is that Alpha Centauri, sounds like he knows what's going on.
I agree.
He asked him to step up to the battle, and the dude didn't do it. I mean, obviously you're familiar with the great blues film Crossroads, starring Ralph Macchio and Steve Vai.
Yeah,
and that whole thing kind of culminates at the end. He's got a battle to win his soul back from Satan, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out that the only way he's able to defeat the devil, the blues devil, is to pull out a little bit of his Juilliard, classically trained, some of those licks. And the blues man it's even far more technical than the blues licks, and the technicality
of
trumps.
classical.
The technical trumps over the emotion. So that should be the end of that debate right there.
That's kind of funny because my Aunt Jeannie, a friend of the pod, actually sent me something today. She sent me a video, Chopin, Prelude in E minor. And I was like, oh, kind of cool, some classical music. And then followed it up with a video, Jimmy Page, Prelude in E minor.
Interesting.
By Chopin. And it's him like in maybe late 70s just coming back out on stage and just like ripping some Chopin on the guitar.
Well,
so that's sort of a similar
playing with a bow.
Yeah, that was from the Charles Bronson Death Wish 2 soundtrack. Jimmy Page composed it. That was his first thing back after his buddy Bonham had died.
Yeah, look kind of 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was just really strung out, and
he's kind of slowly turning into Miles Davis. They're both kind of snake charming kind of vibes.
Yeah, it was before he had his big comeback with Paul Rogers. No, it was the Firm.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. But I saw that video. It was very sad.
Yeah.
And in terms of the showmanship and the emotion, that's kind of all he had.
I know.
Going for him that night.
I don't think he would have won the battle with the devil with that one.
He did not have a tuner.
A lot of people, kind of are of the kind of belief that, the distinction between technique, and emotion is, it's kind of like an Ouroboros, that it's like, who are you or who am I to say that someone can't be thoroughly moved by technique? Technical ecstasy, if you will.
Well, I mean, I'm just confused about whether it has anything to do with music whatsoever. That's kind of where I'm at with it, because it seems to me that what people call technical is like a clean sound, like it's about like hammer-on hitting the fret with your finger like precisely or something, like, because they say that Jimmy Page, it's not good because he's moving too quickly and he's sloppy on the fingerboard.
Yeah.
But they're saying that Clapton's technically perfect because every note he hits is like cleanly struck.
Well,
so
he would
I don't
never
even
risk it.
He wouldn't risk it. Exactly.
He wouldn't even take the chance of being embarrassed because he's so deeply, deeply insecure and troubled, and there's no There's no way he's going to risk like being up there with Knopfler and getting clowned in any way.
But yet, you told me on the phone 2 days ago that Clapton's probably the top blues guitarist.
Well, that's just pure math, pure numbers.
Right.
We wouldn't be here without him. I mean, it's baseball, it's beers, it's brewskis, it's
titties,
it's Nick Nolte, Clapton, like that's
it's Baltimore.
He perfected it.
Season 2 Wire.
Well, you personally also are a big fan of his suits and that late 80s look, right?
Yeah, I was just watching the Chuck Berry, the Hail Hail Rock and Roll documentary, and it's Chuck Berry and Clapton and Keith Richards all jamming.
Yeah.
And Clapton's the only one that even knows any of the licks. Chuck Berry doesn't even remember his own tunes, and Clapton comes in there and just reminds them all what the blues is really all about.
Yeah, he's kind of, I feel like Clapton's kind of the white whale, like the Ahab of the blues. He's kind of like the collector. Like these things are his, he's like the judge in Blood Meridian, where he's like, I'm like fascinated by these like licks, because once I own them, they're mine to destroy.
Well, he's the judge, jury, and executioner
of the blues.
Yeah.
I mean, he called his album Crossroads. He completely co-opted that term and even started a whole festival.
Yeah.
Also with the same name, and he invites all the people whose licks he's adopted over the years, and they all kind of jam together until one by one they all pass away, and he's still there.
Do you
on
think
the top
that
of the
he's do you think he's passing on his legacy to Mayer? I mean, I showed you that video where he calls specifically in he calls John Mayer a master, a blues master, but he specifically came to this realization watching John Mayer perform Magnolia by J.J. Cale.
There you go.
Partial lineage.
Major partial lineage.
Well, if Mayer had wanted to do just strictly pure blues, he would maybe have even surpassed Clapton by now, but he unfortunately is kind of a bit scattered creatively and likes to touch on a lot of different kind of areas, and he also spent a bit of time trying to chase the kind of
pussy.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say pop charts, but I guess those are kind of synonymous.
He was the hottest cock in Hollywood for a while there.
Yeah, I think now that he's about our age. I don't know how old you are, but
yeah,
he's kind of gotten to the point now where he's kind of going back to his blues roots.
He's 41 years old.
I wanted to talk. I mean, this is what kind of prompted this sort of emergency blues episode, is that he's put out this new single and video, an album, I guess, and with an album cover that harkens back certainly to a period in the 1980s, late 70s, or one could say to James Younger's own album.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's a partial lineage there aesthetically, I think.
Yeah.
They were probably both influenced by American Gigolo.
Yeah. But I listened to a bit of this album, and I didn't really hear any blues at all, personally. It sounded like Toto, that one song, and then I don't know. Why is he so revered as a blues artist when he makes sort of music that's not strictly blues? That's what I want to know.
Well, he'll make sure to show up to like a B.B. King gig every year or two, or whoever's playing the local blues place, and just rip a few solos just to make sure they don't forget about him. You know what I mean?
Do you ever see him do any of his work with the Dead?
I haven't, but it's a good thing they got him, because it felt like their legacy was starting to dip a bit, and they needed a little help with. They're trying to keep doing like Dodger Stadium, and I don't know what your equivalent would be.
We asked Dan
Rogers Arena.
Horn. Yeah, we asked Dan Horn about that, and he said that he didn't like to say the names John Mayer and Jerry Garcia in the same sentence. So that's where kind of dead heads like him stand, right?
I don't want you to misunderstand what he was saying there, because it can be read a few different ways. I think he was saying that out of reverence for both Mayer and Jerry Garcia.
It's a mutually beneficial marriage,
right?
Kind of a trade agreement, really.
Like what they're losing in like Dan Horn, they're gaining in like people that would actually buy a ticket.
Yeah, like what they're losing in blues, they're like what they're losing in the the Mixolydian, they're getting back double fold in the pentatonic.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Dan Horns never made it past the parking lot in the first place.
Yeah,
right. But yeah, I mean, if Mayer had stayed in the Dead for longer, there's a good chance he and Dan Horn would have probably shared the stage in the next 10 years.
If Lesh goes, then
Who's
Horn's probably
up?
next in line.
Is
yeah.
Horn up next?
I think so.
How's Bleecker
Yeah.
feel about that?
Well, I think Bleecker would say that Horn's definitely put in the time.
Okay.
Plus, Bleeker's, he's busy with
He's surfing on the Baja. man.
his
He's fine.
new surfing career down in the Baja.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's... Well, okay, this brings me to something I really wanted to talk to you guys, which is that, as we all know, there's two major camps of blues.
Modern day blues?
Yeah, I mean,
Blue, like, kind
you
of-
could call them families, the two families.
Kind of Capulets, Montagues kind of thing?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, and we got the two godfathers at the top in Steve Jobs and Paul Allen. I'm talking, of course, about Apple versus Microsoft
Right.
when it comes to blues, right?
That makes
And
sense.
I
yeah.
did some research into this, and I thought it was really interesting to find out kind of who's in which camp, because it is really defined, and there's no crossover whatsoever. And it really actually is kind of old school, new school, which was interesting because, we all heard about this when Quincy Jones said that Paul Allen was his favorite guitar player. And so, we've got Quincy in Paul Allen's court, and we've got, obviously, Hendrix is on that side, even though he's dead, but because he's Paul Allen's favorite guitar player. Then we've got some interesting, some old school heavy hitters here, because I don't know if you guys knew this, but Paul Allen put together a little band. It was called Paul Allen and the Underthinkers.
Yeah, absolutely.
6 Strings from Hell was the name of the tour or the show.
Yeah. I believe
And,
Joe Walsh was in that band.
Yeah, he was. So he teamed up with Anna Nancy Wilson of Heart.
Okay.
Definitely some blues power hitters there.
Seattle, Hendrix.
Yeah, exactly. Paul Allen, totally. Derek
But I'll tell you
Trucks.
right now, Derek Trucks I'm going to get onto a little bit later, but correct me if I'm wrong, but
You got a whole trucks piece planned?
I just was reading on a website earlier about like the best kind of new blues, and a guy made the point that he prefers the Derek Trucks band to the Tedeschi Trucks because he feels that Derek Trucks is just a bit more bluesy.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
good.
Not,
But
not
I was
all
just-
that pesky singing.
So
I just want Johnny. I just want to interrupt you. Sorry, because
yeah.
I'm thinking
No.
that there is a little bit of a crossover here. You need to put into your, that kind of pinboard, kind of chart, Kaiser Sose,
Yeah.
kind of Beautiful Mind thing behind you.
Yeah.
Because Mayer's worked with Hart.
Well, that may be so, but we all know where Mayer's allegiances lie.
I know, but I'm saying there's a little bit of a crossover.
Okay, there's some
there.
crossover. Okay, all right, fair enough. I mean, I
Barracuda.
did
Someone's
about
gotta
10
play
minutes
still.
of research on this, so we've got obviously Joe Walsh, as you mentioned. Also, the album came out, and all proceeds benefited the nonprofit EMP Museum in Seattle, so that's nice.
Oh yeah, so it's a huge
Ringo
Seattle
Starr.
thing, yeah.
Ringo Starr played drums. Interesting. So he's picked a side.
Really in Paul Allen's
Yeah,
band?
yeah. He put
well, him
Ringo.
and Walsh are brothers, right?
Yeah, him and Walsh are big, and Chrissy Hind of the Pretenders. Interestingly,
That's nice.
so that's
She's
a hell.
available.
They got a hell of a band on the Microsoft side.
It is a hell of a band. Yeah.
And then I had a little bit of trouble.
So can we just go through? I just want to go through
Yeah.
that band before you get to the. Let's just really kind of lay it out easy because you did a good job and I interrupted you. So we
Okay.
got Ringo's on drums.
Yeah,
Ringo's on drums.
Yeah.
We got Joe Walsh, Paul Allen kind of dueling.
yeah,
No one can say which one's better. I mean, it's hard to. Like,
Yeah,
but they're
even
kind
throw
of
Hendrix
inspired
into
by
that.
Jimmy. They're inspired by Jimmy.
yeah. And according to Quincy, who's the producer of the whole thing, he thinks
Yeah.
that Paul Allen, that could hold a candle to Jimmy. Yeah. And then we
Well,
got
they were on
then we
they were on
got
Paul Allen's
Hart.
super yacht when he said that.
Yep, and then we got Hart,
Yeah.
Ann and Nancy Wilson and Chrissy Hind, kind of probably doing some singing,
it's a
and
powerful
in
band.
Nancy and Chrissy's case, some licking as well,
Yeah.
So that's cool. And
You got
then
anything to say about that lineup, Lou?
I don't. I'm not familiar with much. I like some of that early Pretenders stuff, but I haven't really followed Ringo or Walsh in about 30 years. It sounds like some people that just had a lot of extra time on their hands and weren't really doing much that week. Especially the poor Heart gals. They're always doing those like extreme makeover shows, coming out with different faces and like surgeries and different kind of. I think they did the stomach thing on one of those VH1 like staple with the stars or something.
Are they like sister and mother? Or like sister and daughter? Or daughter and mother or something?
Sister and sister.
Oh, they're sister. Kind of Tia Tamara kind of feel?
Exactly.
Okay.
Or just any sort of sisters,
Yeah. Okay. Like a Mario and Luigi situation.
I mean, that whole thing sounds frightening to me.
Yeah. So then on the Apple side, we all know that Steve Jobs 15 years ago launched GarageBand. And to celebrate the launch, he got blues guitarist John Mayer to demonstrate some of the amp simulators on it.
Yeah.
And from that, so I was trying to figure out like who's on in this camp, and it was quite difficult. But I did the research and I have figured it out. It's who kind of championed.
I mean, this already
What's
sounds
that?
like far more like this already sounds far more legitimate.
Yeah.
Just between GarageBand and Mayer, they've already completely annihilated this other Joe Walsh Ringo band that you were talking about.
Yeah, well, exactly.
It's
and
like, it's like taking candy from a baby at this point.
Yeah, it's true. And what I found is right after GarageBand launched, you had all these artists kind of jumping on board on that side of the fence. And it's more of a kind of like hip-hop R&B. You got Kendrick Lamar, Rihanna, Grimes, which takes you to the Elon Musk. Obviously, he's probably going to get into the blues game soon. We haven't
Space
seen him.
blues, yeah.
We haven't seen him. Well, he did launch some Bowie music into space. That was something.
True.
Justice, they got into it. And then I'm throwing
cool.
Clapton in because of his allegiance with Mayer, and that there was a video of him playing through the blues tooth of a Tesla car, playing Layla.
Right.
So he's all about the future of blues.
It's also
making it cordless, making it wireless. No
Technical.
amps. Yes,
Technical blues.
Exactly, technology. Yeah, tech blues.
Technical blues.
Showcasing the technology itself almost more than the music.
Yeah. Maybe that's
exactly.
what being a great technical guitarist is.
It could be.
I mean,
It started like we've kind of gone full circle here because it started with like the idea of technical might involve tuners, which is kind of like showcasing the like
at the very
original
least,
Yes.
technology available, and now we're talking about kind of tuning like on GarageBand, like using Liverpool Crunch.
There's a tuner.
preset.
There's a tuner on there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm looking at it.
yeah. It's that kind
I'm
of
on
thing.
GarageBand as we
And you-
speak.
And you look at these other guys, Joe Walsh. I can't see Joe Walsh giving a shit about being in tune either. Like he probably
No.
was, but like he was too messed up to really worry about it.
I think he was too
I
focused
think
on writing
Eagles-
riffs, frankly.
Well, I think James Gang maybe not so many tuners, but then once the Eagles, he made that transition. They started tuning up a little bit right around.
Well, you
there.
have to.
Interesting.
You have to for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when
Do you
you're
think
doing
they
that kind of
tuned
country,
to him though, maybe they kind of brought him in for his rock and roll kind of lifestyle.
it's hard
From-
to. Yeah.
From everything that I've heard, he was just absolutely terrified of all those guys the entire time, and that's why he says now that's why he had to be so fucking blacked out through the late 70s and early 80s, because he was just so intimidated by the machine that was Eagles.
Well, the Eagles are
Not the Eagles.
Oh, Eagles. Is it not the Eagles? Are they called Eagles? Is that the band name?
It's just Eagles, bro.
Really? Wow. Fuck, I don't know. I'll tell you, Ringo also doesn't seem like he's really that into tuning. I can't see him ever pulling out a drum key and like
No.
tuning up the snare. I can't ever picture him doing
Too much
that.
of a party boy for that.
He'd have
Yeah.
people do that for him from day one.
Yeah, like I'd imagine that if you went down to the local pro drum shop,
Yeah.
there's probably not. You know, you got the Terry Bozzio and the whoever, the Mike Portnoy, and then you got there's no Ringo DVD, and if there was, it would just be him jamming Beatles tunes.
Yeah. Well, we were
Yeah.
talking earlier on today about, and this is going to be reversed, I guess, for when the kind of audience hears this. But we were talking earlier on about how there's
Bit
a
of a
Johnny Depp deep fake of Ringo as Jack Sparrow that's circulating the internet right now, and how Ringo's
like
sort
those.
of legacy as the drummer in the Beatles is being threatened, kind of Stamos and Dennis Wilson style, by Johnny Depp, who's slowly just kind of sublimating himself into the character that is Ringo. And soon Ringo might even not be the drummer in the Beatles.
Yeah.
But that's just my take.
I hope that doesn't happen. It's funny, those deep fake things. I saw what was the Scorsese movie where they spent millions of dollars in 3
The
years?
Last Waltz, I
Irishman,
think,
yeah.
on Robbie Robertson's chest sweat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was one of those, and then some college kid spent about a week and he redid all the stuff that they had spent millions on, and it was far better than like they did they did like a side by side with like the Pesci and De Niro from The Irishman, and then
Yeah.
they're like, here's the deep fake that some kid just did on his iPhone, and it's like cost nothing, and it was far superior graphics.
And they spent like $100 million on that.
Have you seen the Tom Cruise deepfake TikTok?
Yeah,
No.
There's a guy does a good Tom Cruise impression.
It's just like a deepfake. It's literally like it only came out like a couple of weeks ago. I mean, there was an original deepfake where like Tom Cruise became like somebody else.
Bill
you know?
Hader,
yeah. And no, now there's like a TikTok deepfake of Tom Cruise where it's like he's just there's many videos of Tom Cruise. Like it just is Tom Cruise being like, "Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Tom
but
Cruise."
it's
in my
just a
TikTok."
guy, right?
Yeah, but it is Tom
In
Cruise
his kitchen.
But it's Tom Cruise.
No,
I
it
see
is.
what you're saying.
You
I see what
gotta,
you're
you gotta
saying.
watch it. It's like
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be cool because that technology is going to be really useful when like people get kind of Me Too'd or canceled or like canceled on camera because they can just say it never really happened. You're gonna be like, it's a deep
Wow.
fake. It's not real.
It seems to already be working for
And
some.
I think that's what it was created for. I think it's a psyop, personally.
You think that Johnny Depp is like kind of up there with Mayer as far as blues players go, or
he
well,
was for a while. His star has faded a bit in the last couple years.
Did you notice how Mayer on that album cover was kind of wearing some Johnny Depp style, like
Yeah, they're
bracelet,
blending.
like Pirates of the Caribbean's like bracelet, like leather bracelet stuff? Did you notice that?
Kind of like a late '90s cut jean that only a couple of guys still have access to.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
it.
Kind of like a diesel like jean,
Yeah.
maybe
Diesel.
a bedazzled back pocket.
Yeah,
Below
it's not,
the
but
belt.
it's not been like true religion yet. You know what I mean? It's still kind of still cool.
Yeah, and there's only a few guys that can still get access to the
It's kinda-
original cut.
Yeah,
Stills
absolutely.
cool, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Stills kind of wore jeans like he'd kind of did like a real in the late 70s, a kind of real football
Yeah, but he was kind of he was also like that's more like also like like Carmel County kind of draft dodger, like
Well, that's when he was-
military paranoid kind of Vietnam, like just coming off the plane, dog soldiers with like a bag of heroin and my jeans I've worn the whole time I was on tour in Vietnam kind of vibe too.
And when he was doing a lot of scuba diving in the like a coral reef in Hawaii, and his body was super cut.
Yeah, he was cut then. It's true.
so he could get into his old linebacker jeans.
Stills was cut.
He
I've
was
only
cut for
seen
a
it.
little bit.
I've only
for
seen
a fair
it.
gap era.
He always
No.
seemed to. He always seemed like a real roly-poly looking little guy to me.
This is what he says on the Doom tour, like 74 when they were prepping for the Doom tour. He said he just got back from scuba diving in Hawaii and he was super cut, hanging out on Neil's ranch, jamming for the tour.
Kind of more
And he said
Bond tour.
He wished he could get that body back, quote unquote.
cut in sort of like a Bob Hoskins,
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins.
DeVito kind of
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, kind of in a Danny DeVito kind of that kind of cut.
What's his
Like kind of the
height?
Penguin era.
You know what his height is?
I think he's like maybe like 5'6", 220.
Okay, like kind of a fridge.
A blues
Still-
fridge.
Still?
Kind of a blues fridge.
Yeah, 5'6", 220 sounds about right.
Hey,
We were
listen,
talking-
whilst we're talking about kind of,
I mean, back then, I don't know now. Probably 5'4", 250.
You know, we're kind of all been at the gym today. I don't know what your routine is. Maybe we should just go through it one by one. I
was live tweeting you guys as I was pumping. It was a hard thing.
Yeah.
You
I
were
was
trying to
trying to-
send me like a blues playlist. I got about 3 songs in and it was kind of bumming me out on the run, so I had to veer off. But I like that Bonnie Raitt. That was cool.
Well, I mean, all blues is kind of emotional, if that's what you mean.
Unless you're
Once
into
I got
the
to that,
technical side of it.
Jimmy Vaughn stuff was just brutal. I couldn't
Fabulous Thunderbirds?
do it. I couldn't really get into it. I don't know. But then the
That's
Bruce
the height
Willis,
of blues.
the Bruce Willis stuff kind of brought me back.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what I
like
was thinking-
86 to 92 is probably.
It's kind of hanging out with Don Johnson, that kind of blues.
Yeah, that was
Ye-
kind of when the best stuff was being made.
You know, I was thinking about you today, Luke, and I was thinking it's interesting to me that I know that you spend a lot of your free time watching a lot of kind of Seagal, Van Damme, action, Bruce Willis, 80s, and that a lot of these guys also moonlighted as blues musicians, and your kind of 2 main interests are like these kind of martial arts guys
It's just
of
blues.
the 80s, early 90s, and blues music.
It's all
and I
blues,
was thinking, that's it. What is the parallel? What draws these martial artists to blues or vice versa? What is it?
Well, I think the martial arts and blues guitar are almost, there's so many parallels between the two, and I'm almost like the belt system could almost be applied to both karate and to blues guitar. And obviously, you got
Is
your
it
black
not
belt
already?
guys.
It's not already?
Well, not officially, but I'm sure on some of these chat forums that James Younger's reading through all day, every day. I bet it's pretty clear who the black
Blues
belts
Junction and SteveHoffman.tv, they have kind of a ranking system based on the belt system of jiu-jitsu, I think so. But,
just purely based on blues, I think that what your buddy Ramrod 2016 was saying about Brian May would probably be true, because I don't really consider him that bluesy.
No.
Well,
Nor do I.
apparently his fingering
Which is why I like him.
is slack. Apparently his fingering, his like technique with his fingers isn't technically good enough to be considered, kind of up there in the pantheon of blues guitarists. Another question.
Well, I just don't consider Queen blues.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking now that do you think it's maybe something to consider that if you are like a lethal blues player, like kind of a black belt,
Deadly.
yeah, deadly, you should
Yeah.
warn people before jamming, the way that kind of like you have
I
to
think
if you're
so.
like a black belt, you have to warn someone 3 times before. Like that's kind of the like code.
Well, I don't think you should warn anybody. I just think you should only bring out your guitar in a sanctioned event.
Right.
Where you have referees and you have security around and an audience. You don't just walk in like a martial artist
Don't
wouldn't
walk into
just
a
walk
guitar
into
center.
a bar and start a fight.
No.
You don't
Start
walk
beating
into
the fuck out of
guitar.
everybody.
No.
Yeah, no, you don't walk into Guitar Center with like your Les Paul and just start playing blues.
I don't think it matters what guitar it is at that point. If you're
Well,
at that
I
level.
think that It might though. Like I think that maybe that's part of why people don't like Brian May is because he built his own guitar and all
played
that.
with a nickel, kind of Gibbons style.
Exactly. It's more, there's certain axes that, from
They're
the Les
sacred.
Paul to the PRS,
Yeah.
that are kind of sacred to blues.
Well,
noticed
as somebody that's been kind of hanging around in the Los Angeles and San Francisco blues
Community.
jam community for many a year, I can tell you from personal experience that the black belts are usually the ones that are not doing the jamming.
Exactly. Yeah.
They'd be the last ones to pick up the axe and get in there because they don't
seen
want to
too
hurt
much.
anyone.
They've
Yeah, they don't
seen
want
too
anyone to
much.
get hurt.
No.
Yeah.
You think Thomas is up there?
Thomas to me is black belt, and
Yeah, I
I've
think
never
so.
seen him play in public.
Yeah. 100%.
You know who's really who I've seen kind of shred, kick some ass black belt style around your place, Luke, is that guy who plays with Austin. You know?
Ryan Richter.
Yeah, he'll kick some ass on the guitar. It's more country, I know, but
He's red belt. He's beyond black.
yeah, he's
He uses his pinky to fret the low E, if that tells you anything.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I don't even know how you do it. I've tried it. My hands don't.
He's
even,
kind of he's more in video game, kind of Mortal Kombat Raiden territory. Like he's going
Yeah, I've
through-
never seen anyone fret the chords. He's come up with his whole own. It's like him and George Benson.
He's
You know,
channeling.
that's it.
video
He's
game
channeling.
blues. That's another whole.
It's
You guys,
not-
I'm just gonna take a little piss and grab a beer here.
We
Sorry.
can just
Keep-
all take a second. Leave
Let's
everything
take a second
recorded.
here.
I'll take a piss.
You're the only one there with an assistant. Can't she bring you a Gatorade bottle and a six
I'm not
pack?
when I have to go to the bathroom, buddy.
There's no
Gatorade.
time to
Be right back.
I was just getting I was riffing.
Should we take a second? I could go
just,
run if we're
just
doing
leave
it.
everything recording though.
I got dogs barking now
Yeah,
too.
leave
They're getting
everything
bluesy.
recorded. And I got a bit lined up on Dan Auerbach coming up here, so I don't think that the Police are very bluesy, if that's what you mean by that.
Not at all. In a
No.
way, it's a lot. It's a lot more challenging to try to come up with something that's not blues.
Yeah,
I have a lot of respect for people that
like Andy
are
Summers.
not bluesy.
You've switched between. I've seen it happen.
I heard Bandages on the radio on my way home tonight by Hot Hot Heat. It sounded great.
It's not bluesy.
No, it's not. But it's punk. It's punky.
It's new wave.
The amount
Death
of like attention to detail and the concentration involved and trying to make non-blues is. I mean, look. Think about
I
what
know.
Tom York and Johnny Greenwood must go through. Like, if any chance of like a seventh chord or anything even remotely
Yeah.
like a Hendrixy lick, they just have to immediately cancel that session.
Yeah,
Well, that's when we were talking about Queen. I was thinking, like, honestly, I mean,
I'm with you.
We're having fun, but I like music that's,
Non-blues.
well, it's a little more
It's all
inventive,
blues.
like you said.
To me, it's all blues, but it all goes back to. I can find a way back to the blues through any of this stuff.
Of course, but come on.
You sent that meme over, Luke. Some would call it a meme. Some would call it accurate history.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know if any blues connoisseurs are going to be going to the Imagine Dragons concert.
yeah.
they might
maybe
go
I'm
and see.
wrong.
They might go and see the Black Keys though, or Gary Clark Jr.
Well, yeah.
That's
Isn't
just pure blues.
there a new Black Keys release, Luke? You wanted to tell us about?
I haven't heard it, but I'd be happy to discuss it.
Remember when we saw that guy buying at that leather store in Hollywood that time?
Yeah, that was a very bluesy store. There was a lot of belt buckles and boots, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of smelled a little bit like rawhide and
yeah.
Why
Whiskey.
were we in there? What
Wax.
were you looking to do that day?
I was trying to get my leather shoulder bag, the zipper repaired. Remember, we were driving it was a very Hollywood day. We drove around to all the
What was that old guy?
leathersmiths.
What was that old guy leathersmith shop that we went to? That was just amazing.
In the fashion district?
Mike's Tuxedos.
Mike's Tuxedo.
Oh, Mike. He was
Dude.
great.
Oh, yeah, what street was that on?
I don't know. It was somewhere there in the
Right
heart
down-
of Hollywood, near
we
Hollywood
went into
Forever
this
Cemetery.
place. We went into this place, James, like to try to get. We went to a place and they said try Mike's Tuxedo,
Nice.
like on Hollywood or whatever. And Luke and I went into this place, and you walk in, and it was like
Take
straight out of a
family.
Lynch movie, like just like this guy's been just walls of tuxedo. This guy's just been
Amazing.
outfitting,
Yeah.
you know, B-list
Dead
actors
celebrity
for,
funerals.
And mobsters.
and
Yeah.
mobsters.
He looked
And he-
a lot like Dean Stockwell from Blue Velvet, actually. Yeah.
And he said,
How the
he
shit
said,
are you?
yeah,
Exactly.
he looked at Luke's bag and he said he couldn't really help. Like without even looking at it, he just knew he couldn't really help us.
Surprised you didn't go east to the fashion district. Kind of Chinatown, kind of go.
Well,
noir.
when Johnny comes to town, he likes to do mostly just the straight up Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, I like to
So we-
stick to the.
I
and we went and
I would've
saw.
tried Bunker Hill out, maybe something like that.
That's a different scene. No, when Johnny's here, it's just straight up Formosa Cafe, El Coyote,
Yeah.
Rainbow,
I love that
Whiskey,
stuff. I love all that
Roxy.
Yeah, Dantana's. Yeah,
I mean, when I've been to LA like 15 times since I've known you, Luke, and you've made it clear that you won't even go west.
I know. I'm always depressed after Johnny
I'd
makes
take
me
the-
do these things.
I take him over to Barney's Beanery and we talk about Janis Joplin all night, and he gets bummed out.
Pop
And,
Well, I think it's nice to do some tourist things, even in your own town, every once in a while. I'm sure over the last year, when you guys have been stuck at your homes, you've probably maybe ventured out to different kind of outdoor locales that you wouldn't. I mean,
sure.
I don't know if people know this, but I used to live in Vancouver off and on for almost a decade.
No one from Vancouver listens to this show, man. Don't worry.
most of the listeners are probably from L.A. actually.
O'Brien.
Well, when I hear you guys talking about things like Kitts Beach and
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Third Beach, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about. I've
Yeah,
never
you
even
do.
been there. I've never been there.
You didn't really go to the beach much because you'd spend most of your time on Main Street up at Bert's Cafe.
No, you were
eating
more of a kind of
pancakes.
save on meats guy, kind of like funky winker beans, that kind of.
Yeah, I was
Funkies, you definitely.
Yeah,
would
I was
go there.
between Abbott Street downtown and like kind of the Mount Pleasant area. I don't
Yeah.
know what's popping over there in Mount Pleasant these days.
One of my favorite stories about Luke is I remember we made a plan to have breakfast one day, and I called him at about 10 a.m. and you know, this is kind of great guy he is, and I called him and he picked up. He's like, "Hello," and I was like, "Hey man, are we still going for breakfast this morning?" And he said, "I just went to bed like 2 hours ago, but let's do it. I'll meet you at Bert's in an hour, you know, in half an hour or whatever." And I just remember I went into Bert's and he had that real, you know, up all night, sunglasses on,
Kind of razor
kind of
light
look
energy?
in the booth, yeah. And I just remember the waitress walked up and he just looked at her with his shades on and he just said, "You got any dragon juice?" And I never knew what it meant. And I always
Did
wondered.
she say yes?
No, she said no. But
Well, I don't think Johnny knows about the first Razorlight album.
Yeah,
James,
but did you like that?
I liked it because I come from kind of an early 2000s non-blues world. So
I was just feeling
I had,
myself by throwing that in there.
I had that album, but I don't know if
I'm
Johnny.
sure you and Burrell spent a lot of time
I don't know.
in like kind of all white denim hanging around and kind of, you know, Manumission nightclub or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but they were headlining Reading and Leeds, and we were kind of in the side tent. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a lot of that's, you know, you didn't ride, you know, Golden Touch, man.
Great song.
Great song, actually.
at that time I was mostly listening to
Simon
Blues.
Garfunkel.
honestly blues. Yeah. like kind of
down
stills.
Auerbach?
No, I was into stills at that time. Like I was like, no, Manassas. Like
Yeah,
seriously,
it's good stuff.
like at that time that like Razor Light was out, I was like, Manassas is the best band or
You
something.
kind of
know
had
what
a
I mean?
Johnny Burrell look, actually. You know, once when I was in Manchester, when I lived there, I worked in this bar called the Roadhouse, and Guided by Voices played there, and like obviously like kind of cult band, and
Yeah.
I remember the bass player from Razorlight showing up, and they weren't famous yet, and he was sat at the bar. He watched them. You know, they played for like 4 hours, about 80 people there. I remember him explaining to me he was in a band called Razorlight. He got so drunk that I walked him to his hotel, and then when they got famous, I'd see that guy all around and think, you know, there's a story. He actually likes music. You know, he's into this stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
I hated everything. That was like
Yeah.
kind of that was my thing, you know.
Right.
Like I was
Yeah.
into hating any new music
Kinda
in the
Pitchfork
early
energy.
2000s.
Still,
No, I can get into it now, a bit. Like
Well,
I
me
don't
and you have
seek
talked
I don't
about
seek
making
it
an
out.
we've talked about making an indie dance party playlist.
No, I like a lot of the music from that era now that I didn't like then, and I also will like new music if it's shown to. I don't actively seek out a ton, I'll admit that, but I don't think any of us here do.
do.
Maybe James.
I do for sure.
But if
I
it's
listen to quite a bit of new stuff, but it's not necessarily
Mostly hip-hop.
blues. Yeah, it's not a lot of guitar music. I don't
Kinda
know.
neo soul hip hop.
Yeah, I don't know how much guitar we're ever going to see ever
Kind of like
again.
I don't know, the Burbank kind of neo soul scene's pretty cool. You know, Steve Lacy, he's kind of good on the guitar. I like his vibe.
Yeah, I went to the strangest post-pandemic get-together the other night, and you know, there was typical like east downtown Skid Row kind of walk through an alley and give your password and go through these
yeah.
double doors, and all of a sudden you're in some big warehouse that's just full of like beautiful people.
It's amazing.
And you have no idea.
I went to one like that last time I was down there. It was weird.
Yeah, and there's just like an incredible like kind of jazz kind of jam kind of fusion band just playing, and like just like all the, you know, Lakeith Oscar Award nominee Lakeith Stanfield just
Yeah.
in the corner. It was just one of those kind of, you're
Wow.
like, thank God that we still.
Well, no, I mean
We're
this
still in
music.
this.
This music sounds like amazing. If you guys, and James, you've done this with me. Like you've sent me new stuff that you find, and I'm.
Yeah,
That's
you get
my
real,
the
you get
difference.
really defensive about it though when I send it to you and say I want
What?
to listen. You say like I'm kind of only into Wings, you know, and stuff like
Oh
that.
please, no. You sent me something recently. I loved it, but no. Back in the day, though, what I'm saying is I could not. I had no time for it, but now I really do like to hear when there's good stuff coming out. You know.
I think I sent you UMO. I said I think you'd like UMO, and
I don't
stand by
remember now.
that. He's a good guitarist. Really
I
good
listen to
guitarist.
everything
I don't
I'm
know.
sent. I listen to
Unknown
everything
Local
I'm sent.
Orchestra.
I don't think so, man, because I sent you a lot of John Spencer, Blues Explosion, great blues artist.
Today, you listen. I told you to make me a playlist. I was running. I was
sent you
trying to
some-
click.
some-
I was trying to click on, like, go to my text, and you guys kept texting, so I kept having to, like, scroll back through it.
Well, I mean,
Like,
I was pumping iron at the time myself, and I was able to navigate
Not running. You weren't running, were you?
full speed. It was an all-out sprint.
Well, then I just put on Joe Walsh Rocky Mountain Way radio, and that just set me straight for the whole
Right.
8K that I was doing. It was perfect.
Can I ask you guys a question? Since we're back, I tried to ask it you earlier, but got sidetracked. But since we're talking about the gym and pumping and stuff, anyone got any insights into Joe Perry's pectoral kind of training regime?
I'm going to go out on a limb right now and say it's all genetics. Because I know a lot of people like Dan Calusi types who don't even really work out that
Italians, you
much.
mean.
And they Italian, exactly, who just kind of have that that sort of like wiry upper bod with that look. And, you know, a lot of people I know who pump iron all the time who don't get that, you know? So
The olive skin.
yeah.
It's just a beautiful thing.
Dan Calusi never worked out a day ever when we were in the Shilohs in our 20s. Body always looked exactly like Joe Perry. Always. Yeah. So it's just, I think it's genetics, you know?
Okay.
But like you see that video of him and Steven Tyler with Jimmy Page, you know, when he comes backstage to ask about when he's supposed to come in and play the blues solo on Train Kept a Rollin' or whatever.
Yeah.
You know the video. And
I don't remember if Joe Perry's topless or not.
They're both topless. Him and
everyone's topless.
Him and Steven Tyler. And the best part is that like they're kind of hanging out, like drinking a beer, and then they go to like take a photo with Jimmy Page, and the two of them like totally suck in their gut.
Nice.
And it's just like, you know what I mean? So I think they were just, even that, they were like kind of, they weren't working out. They just like.
No, during that, by then they were pump. That's kind of pump era.
They're like had someone else writing the songs for him. It was all about just fitness and riffs.
They were hitting the gym more than they were even jamming at that.
For sure,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the documentary Aerosmith's Making of Pump.
Vancouver.
There's a 5-parter on. You could probably get it on the YouTube.
Yeah.
And they're in the gym, buddy.
Yeah.
They're talking about how much pumping it requires. Because
to maintain.
They're about our age, let me say again, at that point in their career.
Yeah.
And maybe when they were younger they didn't have to pump, but there comes a time if you want to maintain this impossible way of life, you got to keep it tight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't like to talk too much about it.
Why do you think Jagger and Richards and the Stones stopped writing songs? There's no time to do both things.
Yeah.
You just have to decide at some point whether it's going to be the gym and your live show or songwriting. Because no one wants to see a fat guy on stage, straight up. You can even go bald. You just can't be fat.
I tell you, I'm trying to write songs and pump up every day, and it's a goddamn impossible way of life.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Are all the songs about
a lot of them are
getting in shape?
Well, it's a kind of an 80s blues fitness kind of aerobics.
Well, I haven't written the lyrics yet because of that problem.
Yeah.
Let's get physical.
Exactly.
There was a whole
vibe.
Yeah, there was a whole kind of aerobics rock
movement.
Yeah, that was a great time. There's like a lot of Travolta dancing and a lot of oiled up, tanned bodies and things.
It's kind of flash dance, kind of really, isn't it? And like a lot of Kenny Loggins energy.
Huge drum sound.
Oh yeah.
Like I was listening to that Bonnie Raitt. They even showcase it when it breaks down. Let's give them something to talk about. And there's just the drums rocking, and it's just
style.
massive Stamos style drums.
You think Bonnie Raitt's top female blues guitarist?
She opened for the Stones on a couple big tours ago.
I think she's top slide blues guitarist.
Yeah.
Period.
I love her. Yeah.
Really?
You're the one that had to gender it.
Well, I just was reading an article
You backwards. I know the equal rights stuff hasn't gotten up to Canada yet.
No, it's not. Well, I tell you what, the woman, the
blues hasn't either. Apparently,
that's not quite true because the winner of the best blues album of the year at the Junos this year was a female artist called Crystal Shawanda, and her record is called Church House Blues. I'll play you a little bit of it.
Let's hear it.
That's kind of a Dire Straits tone.
Yeah.
But she comes in hot, though.
Fourth section of the...
Almost.
Is she on guitar?
No, she's just singing, and wait till she comes in because she's certainly bluesy.
I went down to the church house to get my Sunday morning right. I went down to the church house to get my Sunday morning right. I caught him dancing in the house like that roadhouse we played last night.
Bluesy, right?
Wow.
Wow,
bluesy.
they lost me with that little kind of descending line.
Yeah, that wasn't
I
that
know.
bluesy, actually.
That's not blues. That's like chord changes and stuff. I don't like that. I don't.
Well,
need
that
to hear
gets more into the Amy Winehouse kind of Motown territory, which is more musical.
it.
Yeah.
No, I like maybe. I don't know. It did definitely have that kind of 87, 88 Vancouver drum sound though.
Yeah, Clear Mountain.
Luke,
Yeah.
I just want to clear the air right now and know right off the bat, off the top of your head, give me your top 5 right now, because we've been really into ranking lately, like
Lists.
Yeah, we've been really into
Charts.
listing
important.
and ranking. We feel
I
like
love
it's
charts, lists, graphs.
now that we're getting kind of pretty big on the sort of classic rock podcast circuit, I don't really know if there are any other podcasts besides ours, but
It's irrelevant.
It's me and my friend's favorite by far.
yeah, so we figure that we need to do what everybody else has done who's been big, like Frick, Rolling Stone, Colin Larkin's top 10,000
Industry
greatest
standard.
album, Guinness Book of World Records kind of stuff, and just start ranking and listing everything we possibly can.
I got Slash's top 10 up here right now.
Yeah, well, I want to know the Luke Paquin official top 5 blues guitarists.
Okay,
Not talking technical. I'm not talking anything. I'm just talking your top, buddy. Blues.
Can we hear the Slash ones first, just so
Okay.
I make sure that mine's as good as his?
Well, this is
Okay,
his
sure.
favorite 10 riffs.
I know that he said Bonnie Raitt was his favorite guitarist. That's how I stole that idea.
Well, his top 10 riffs.
Oh, riffs.
Yeah. I Want You, She's So Heavy.
That's a good
Sure.
riff.
Back in the Saddle. Aerosmith.
Definitely.
Yeah. He says it's one of the sexiest.
Definitely.
He says it's
I'm
one
completely in agreement.
of the sexiest, sleaziest riffs to come along since Whole Lotta Love.
He
how
just
Well, that's-
is Luke. Luke, do you take a lot of your terminology from Slash too, or
He's definitely been a big influence, but a lot of people don't know that's not a guitar. That's a 6-string bass.
Interesting.
Wow.
Joe
Show
Perry played
Your
that quite a
Love,
bit.
I'm the One, Van Halen.
Wow, that's odd. That's an odd choice.
Superstition, Jeff Beck. That's your wah blues,
That's
I
kinda-
guess.
I ain't superstitious. That one.
Superstition by Jeff Beck.
I don't think it's called Superstition. It's called I Ain't Superstitious by Jeff
Well,
Beck.
No,
let's
that's-
see what
that's
Paste
a co-
magazine says. You want me to
That's a
pull it up?
complicated. It's a complicated issue because
With Rod Stewart on vocals, right?
no, but Jeff Beck was with Stevie Wonder when they made that. He did help him make that song.
So he did the riff for Superstitious?
Let's listen to this. Hang
No,
on. Here
Jeff
he is
Beck was
it
playing
live.
drums.
Live. I guess it's his riff.
I think
What?
that might be true. It might be true.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty sleazy. I mean, it sounds
What?
like his riff.
But
Yeah,
it
I think
doesn't-
Jeff Beck and Stevie wrote that song together.
Okay.
That's
This
fucking
is
wicked.
big news. Just
That's big.
continue, because I can't even get this in my head right now. What's next?
Disposable Heroes of, I think that's off Master of Puppets, right? Metallica.
Wow,
Life
Okay.
in the
That's-
Fast Lane.
that's
Yeah.
an incredible list.
That's a
That
good
is-
riff.
More of that jazz. Queen. We've gone full circle, buddy.
Which
Queen-
lick is that?
More of that jazz?
Pull it up.
Yeah, you'd have to remind me how
Let's
that
get
is.
it up.
I don't know that one.
He's he's growing up in Stoke, right, in England. Here we go. Here it is.
Yeah, he's a Brit.
Born on the Bayou?
Kinda.
Wow. Okay.
Which part is the riff part?
I guess it's the Brian May bit.
There's a couple tasty little licks going on there.
I guess it's the kind of like hammer on, like
Sound like Roger
triplety
Taylor
thing,
singing.
maybe? Okay,
What's
Purple
next?
Haze, number 3.
Yeah.
Sure.
Over, Under, Sideways, Down by the Yardbirds.
Great.
Yeah,
And,
I love
and then
that.
Black Dog, his number 1.
Great riff.
Yeah.
Okay, so Luke, would you rather do top 5 riffs or guitarists?
I mean, I wasn't prepared for any of this.
Okay,
you said this was an emergency meeting.
We can get back to you on it. I don't want to put anyone
We get back
under any
to you
pressure.
on it.
We're just all trying to have a nice time.
I don't mind it. I think of these things as being ever fluid, and there's no real. I mean, doesn't
you don't have
Pitchfork
to stick
redo
to
theirs
it.
every couple weeks?
Just give me your top 5 blues guitar players, okay?
Ever.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be in order either. Just 5 of them. Yeah, ever.
Well, you got to go Clapton number 1. That's just obvious. No, there's no.
You're not going to
like,
go Stevie Ray?
There's no debate as to who the top is.
Okay. When you're talking blues, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's earned it. He's
Okay.
trademarked it. He's He's got the most sponsorships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you
He has his own blues festival named after one of his own albums. That it's also named after where you sell your soul.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
he
mean,
did-
a lot
he
of
did
people
all those-
kinda, a lot of people feel like a lot of blues kind of aficionados respect his decision to kind of like focus more on songwriting and singing post Cream, but feel like, you know, he kind of turned his back on the blues a little bit there.
Well, he did hook up with Babyface and do like
What, From the Cradle?
If I Could Change the World. He
He
did
gave
that kind of
blues a
stuff.
huge shot in the arm with From the Cradle in '94, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he
Well,
did
that's still,
Tears
that's
in
still
Heaven.
blues. That's still bluesy. Okay, what's number 2, buddy?
Now that's tough.
Johnny Winter.
That would probably have to be a tie between Stevie Ray and probably G.E. Smith of the Saturday Night Live Band.
Nice, yeah. See,
Yeah,
was
I don't see what's
thinking-
so fucking funny.
Well,
I told you this is serious before
No,
we
I kn-
started this.
No, I'm just only laughing at the fact that. I mean, are you basing that purely on his SNL material?
Well, yeah, the Saturday Night
Because
Live
he didn't,
Band.
you know, he didn't make, like he wasn't like making albums. You know what I mean? That's it's kind of maybe. I mean, I'm naive. I'm saying I'm the ignorant one. I'm sure, but you're basing that on his SNL stuff, right? And maybe his work with Dylan.
Well, I just think that the Saturday Night Live Band, and in particular G.E. Smith, might be the greatest blues group ever
Okay.
assembled.
Okay.
I
Maybe-
thought you might be. I might want to throw in a kind of Big Joe Turner, kind of West Coast guy in. Or you might throw a guy like that in at some point.
I don't even know who that is.
Who's number 3, Luke? Keep it rolling. Keep the train rolling.
It's got to be SRV, right?
Sure.
Okay, so far, no sign of Hendrix, Page. It's very
Robert
interesting.
Johnson.
Those guys can't even play.
Yeah. Sun House. None of that stuff. Mississippi John Hurt.
Number 4, I'm really to me
not
this
in
is
the
the one
Delta
I
yet.
want to know. To me, number 4 is the one I'm really curious about. I knew you'd go Clapton, SRV, G. Smith, top 3. But now
You
is where
knew
I'm
that?
yeah, I did because we talked. Yeah,
You just knew.
but now
Based
top
on
4.
your track record, I'm thinking you want to go with the first white musician to gain acceptance in the blues scene, which would be Butterfield.
He didn't
I
play
haven't heard
guitar
about-
though, did he?
It's irrelevant. We're talking about blues.
No, I'm
It
talking
transcends.
guitarists.
Okay, not harp.
No, guitarists. What I want to know.
I missed that. Male.
That's tough.
He didn't. Wait, did he play guitar? I don't know. Can't think
That's
of number 4.
No, I mean, this is. I hope you guys know this was not pre-planned. I'm just flowing here.
Yeah.
You're in a flow state.
I'd probably have to go rate number 4.
Bonnie Raitt, 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's up there.
Dan Auerbach. Mayor. Bonamassa, Gary Clark Jr. Apparently, the Spin
That's
Doctors
tough.
put out a pretty good blues record in the.
Oh yeah, I
late-
forgot that guy's name. He's got some great lyrics.
in 2013. If the River Was Whiskey, it's a real good record by them.
I mean, I'm sure there's some people. Maybe Robert Cray would be
Sure,
up there.
yeah. Lead Belly.
You've always talked to me about Robert Cray, man. I thought that would be.
I might put Cray number 4.
Yeah. Rate 5.
I mean, I love Rate, but she's most like purely more of a slide player, which to me, I put the top 5 slide as a completely different.
Yeah.
we could talk slide work all day, man.
Yeah.
But that's almost a different beast. That's more of like a Rye Cooter Rate.
You don't want to put Muddy Waters in? You're talking about post-war, kind of. It kind of all starts
He's
there.
good.
B.B. King was in a car.
I
with
like
Clapton
Albert
once.
King. I like Albert King a lot. I don't really like BB King.
Don't Go Cutting Your Hair. That's a good song.
I'd probably go Keb Mo number 5.
Probably end it there then.
All right, you guys, I got to get going here. Seriously. I'm going to go have a margarita with my lady friend. And I love you both, and I can't wait till the next. There's a lot of blues to discuss still, and we
Of
will.
course there is. It's only blues.
It's an ongoing search.
But I thought that had
Mick
a
Taylor
kind of a
is the one who's
bluesy.
got the furthest. It was kind of bluesy this episode.
I thought
though.
that had kind of a mellow bluesy feel the whole episode in a
Yeah.
cool way.
I'm sorry Bonnie got knocked out of the top 5 there.
That's all right. We know
But
we've
still, number 1 slide.
yeah. Right on.
Bonnie, Cooter, Gallagher.
Yanch.
Well, he's more folky. I think
Django.
what Luke's doing, he's not putting anybody who even crosses genres at all. Like he doesn't consider like a Neil or a Page or a Keith or anybody as blues because they cross into others.
Clapton
He's going
crossed
strict.
loads.
Well, I mean, did he though?
Of
I
course he
kind
did.
of think
Did
he only
reggae
did
and
blues.
shit.
Yeah, but it's still blues. It's straight blues. If his version of I Shot the Sheriff is like a blues version.
I don't know why he thinks it's not what he needs to tell people he only shot the deputy. I mean, he's going to be in trouble either way.
Exactly.
I was thought.
We have to take that up with Bob Marley.
Yeah.
You know
Either
who?
way.
I mean, Peter Tosh is great. He plays some good. It's reggae, but he's got some sick licks.
Yeah, he's good. He's no Bonamassa.
That's a cool 2-guitar attack. Bob Marley and Peter Tosh had a good 2-guitar attack, eh?
Well, hey, that's another hour 2-guitar attack.
We could
All right,
talk
boys.
a lot about fitness regimes with those guys too, because those guys were running marathons and playing soccer every day.
I know. I thought this kind of stuff was supposed to be a secret. We didn't want to let the fans know how in shape we really are.
Well,
Okay. Well,
I wanted people to think that Johnny Payne's bod was just straight out of the
Natural.
womb, baby. Yeah.
kind of
Genetic.
like Perry style.
Yeah.
no, I don't have those Italian genes like Dan Calusi, but
you look
you
pretty
know-
tight to me,
That's
baby.
what I'm talking
oh,
about.
you're a sweet guy. I love you both. See you soon, okay?
Okay, see
All right.
you guys. Send me your
Peace.
audio
Party.
and shit. Okay,
Let's
bye-bye.
party.
Send me your nudes.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, great.
Peace.